As we celebrate Earth Month this April, we talk to organizations that are leading the fight to protect our environment. Greenpeace Philippines is one of them. The group aims to pave the way for a greener and more peaceful world by addressing the factors that threaten the environment. Paolo Abrera recently spoke to its country director, Lea Guerrero, and she told him about practices that adversely impact climate change.
What is accelerating climate change is our rampant use of fossil fuels. So that is the problem that we have right now. And unless we shift to a massive uptake of renewable energy and ensure that we decarbonize in the next 9 years before the window of 2030 is closed, then we could, by then, avert the worst impacts of climate change and keep global temperatures below 1.5 degrees. So in the Philippines, the biggest contributor to carbon emissions are the transport and energy sector, because these are the sectors that use the most fossil fuels and emit the most greenhouse gas emissions.
Right, something to be a little more concerned about, obviously. Now, Leah, during this time of the pandemic, people are definitely more careful and mindful when it comes to our health. We're trying to eat better. We're trying to get our exercise. We're trying to make sure that we get our sun. But really, we should be also looking at minding the health of the planet and the environment. How important is it that we pay closer attention to the environment, which actually protects us from, health harms, if we can call it that?
Yeah, I think what the COVID crisis, the COVID pandemic showed us is how people's survival, people's well-being is very much linked to the planet. And it's something that we've forgotten in the past decades. We've always thought that the planet was there for us to exploit and just to use the resources without thinking about the limits that it has. But because of COVID, people have been more aware, I think, about the relationship between people's health and well-being and the well-being of the planet. So we've seen a lot of efforts, for example, especially during the beginning of the pandemic, when people saw that, the lockdowns throughout globally, the lockdowns have made air cleaner because of the lack, because transportation was not as widely used as before. People weren't using fossil fuels, diesel to drive their cars, etc. And when people saw that it was possible to create that kind of better scenario for all of us, they came together and thought of how else can we move this forward, for example, with bike lanes, with greener spaces, etc. And they're reimagining a better world where we could live alongside nature, taking care of nature, and still have economic benefits for people.
It really does make sense. Now, along those lines, Leah, Greenpeace believes that each and every one of us can help build not just a new normal, as that's a term that we bandy about quite regularly now, but I think you'd prefer to call it a better normal as we move forward. You already mentioned that active transport is one of the easiest ways that we can reduce our reliance on fossil fuels. What are some of the other tips or ways? I mean, we're really, as an organization, I think you're talking about making big moves and broad strokes, but each and every one of us has a role to play here. What are some of the other things that we can look at as individuals, apart from looking at maybe active transport and that sort of thing? A few other tips maybe before we go in terms of what we can be doing as individuals?
Mm-hmm. At the individual level, then maybe it's reducing plastic use. Plastic also comes from fossil fuels and so on, and reducing consumption in general. But what Greenpeace would like to emphasize is that as individuals, we could also get together in collective action to get the government and corporations to change, to create an energy transition, because the solutions, individual action is good. But the solutions need to be systemic, and these need to be solutions that are driven by government regulations, government policies, and changes in corporate practices. So we really also encourage people to get together and join the calls, join the actions that are demanding governments and corporations to change and decarbonize.
Right. Well, definitely, if we all speak loud enough, definitely, I think people will be forced to listen. Thank you for being the voice for so many. And thank you so much for your time this morning. That was Greenpeace Philippines Director Leia Guerrero. Thank you for joining us right here on New Day.